Okay, this video is going to deal with page 3 of our chapter 2 notes, and it's going to deal with common syntax errors. And we are going to use a Java file that's going to help demonstrate these errors, and then we're going to take notes on them. So before you continue, you really should have the variable practice.java file opened in JGrasp and saved in your chapter 2 folder to be ready to use. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead. So now as we go through these things, and I'm going to demonstrate these in JGrasp, you can do the same thing. Although you don't really have to. If you just want to watch, that's fine. However, at the end of the video, or towards the end, what we're going to do is we had the class practice a couple things. So these would be things for you to practice at the end. And so you should have your variable practice.java open at least for that. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to JGrasp, and I'm going to demonstrate this. And again, you don't have to do anything on your end of it yet. If you just want to watch, that's fine. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to take this line 8 and take away the S, and then we're going to take away the capital C. We're going to make it small c. Alright, so you'll notice that this is and you know the key things, do you know what this is called? This is a variable call. These are both variable calls. So this is calling a variable named num of dog. And so you see the attempt, of course, obviously is to go to this memory location, but you can see the spelling is different. This obviously is trying to call for the value of this memory location, but you can see their capitalization is different. And so if we compile this, then what happens is we get an error that is in line 8. It says it cannot find symbol, and it points to num of dog. This is where the caret is pointing to. So the reason why it gets the error, this is a main error that you need to be familiar with, is when it says it can't find symbol, oftentimes it's the spelling or it's the capitalization, which is actually a separate error, which is talking about down here. The spelling or capitalization, then when it doesn't match what it gives in the declaration. And so in our notes, then, the spelling and or capitalization of a variable during an assignment or a variable call, either one, doesn't match the spelling of the variable when it is declared. So they've got to match. And so if we look at this example, then you see then that we have num of classes is trying to be assigned 7. The problem is it doesn't match. The capitalization doesn't match, and so it's not going to be able to find that storage location name because it's looking for a lowercase o and a lowercase c. Now, how do you fix that? Now, to fix that, you can have you can either change the declaration to fit, or you change the name of the variable in the assignment, or in here, this right here, you would change the spelling. So you have to make a decision. I had a student in a previous exercise that misspelled the variable name mountain, but she also misspelled it in the variable call. So everything worked fine. So it's just that they have to match. It doesn't really matter whether they're spelled correctly or not, or capitalized correctly. It's just that they match. Alright, so that's that one. And now we'll go back to JGrasp and see what happens there with something else. Now, first of all, I'm going to get rid of those errors. then we're going to do something else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to put it up here. And what this is going to actually show is how the order of your code is very important. So what's going to happen here is in this line we're going to get an error, and you might be able to tell what it is already. So what is going to happen is it says line 6, it can't find symbol. So here we are on line 6, and it's pointing to num of dogs, and it can't find num of dogs. Well, it goes into the computer memory and it's looking for num of dogs. And you say, well, here it is. It's num of dogs has been declared right here, but it hasn't been declared yet. The compiler doesn't see this line of code yet, and so there is no variable that's been declared num of dogs yet. And then, of course, same thing with num of cats. So that's what's happening there. So what we're seeing then is that when you're trying to call a variable that hasn't been declared yet, that's going to cause a problem. And so let's see if I can get out of here. And so trying to call or maybe trying to assign or call a variable that has not been declared yet is going to be an issue. So again, calling it or assigning. So we could do the same thing with this. If I were to actually put this back, if I were to say take off the int and say num of dogs is assigned 4, again it's going to go look over here in the computer memory for num of dogs so that it can update its value. Well, it's not going to find it because it's never been declared yet. But if we put the int, now it gets declared and then it gets assigned after that. So that would be the same idea. Alright, so let's try something else here. We're going to go to, I think we have no errors at this point, just to make sure. Alright, so let's go up here and we're going to take the print ln and make it a capital I. And so it's going to obviously be spelled wrong, but this is the name of a method. So again, you see how the name's involved. The name, it can't find the name. It can't find an object named print capital IN because it's spelled wrong or it's capitalized wrong. And so what we do here then, and I'm going to take this out and fix it. In our notes then, what we're saying then is errors in spelling or capitalization of special Java words, which we've talked about in chapter 1, how there are certain words that are special. They're built into Java, like system and class and public and void and things like that. When those get misspelled, then that causes issues, and the symbol typically is going to be, symbol not being found is going to be typically what's happening. Okay, let's take a look at another situation, and in this case we're going to take away the 10 from here. So you actually, in this situation, you got dogs, and it's got a 4 in it, and you got cats, number of cats, and there's nothing in it. And so in line 8, it calls for the num of dog value, which is 4, and then it calls for num of cats, and there's nothing in there. Now you might think, well, maybe it's just going to put a 0, so it's just going to say num of pets is 4. But nope, that's not what happens. What actually happens is the compiler gets upset with you because you're trying to call a variable that has no value in it. And so it says the variable num of cats might not have been initialized. And another word for initialized is assigned. So a number of cats might not have been assigned. In fact, that is the exact case. It hasn't been initialized or it hasn't been assigned. All right, so that's the problem there. And so on our notes, we go trying to to call a variable that has not been assigned a value. So it's an empty storage location. It is a named storage location, but it just doesn't have a value to it. So trying to call a variable that has not been assigned a value. And and of course that would happen in here where you have number of boys. It's calling number of boys, but number of boys has not been assigned a value. Now we're going to go on to the next one. And so in here, I kind of need to add something to here. So just so we can see, we have plus, and then I'm going to go comma, Yahoo, and so forth. Okay, so if we were to then compile this right now, we would see I still haven't initialized number of cats. So now it is. And so here we go. And now we run it. And so you can see how it's going to print down here. What did I do? Oh, that's right. Okay, so this is right. Okay, so it prints cats 10, Yahoo. Okay, so there we have it. Now, but let's say, and this is something I do myself. I do this in front of people too. Let's take off that concatenation symbol right there. And this is something I do, and I'll inadvertently do that. I'll compile it, and it says, and look, this is very important because it says, what is the error in line 10? Okay, it says that it is, the problem is that it's a parenthesis is expected. And so, and it shows you it right here, like there needs to be a comma or a parenthesis, and that's because you've actually kind of finished things out. There's no plus concatenation operator there, and so it doesn't say you're missing a concatenation operator. That's the problem. And notice it also causes another problem down here. But see, you don't have to worry about that. If you see this and you understand, oh, that means that I need a concatenation operator, you just put it back in there, or put it in there, and you got it. So that is the key thing right there. So I'm going to take off that error and go back to our notes. And in our notes then, if you get a parenthesis or parenthesis is expected, even though you have all your necessary parentheses, you might have left out a concatenation operator. And that would be that. And then, of course, you give an example. Okay, so now what we need is that you to have your variable practice document open. And where did my stuff go? Oh, I know what I did. And I'm going to bring this in. And so what we need to do is I need you to, in the same program, is just go down here and do a print statement. You can actually copy and paste if you want. I don't care. But copy and paste a print statement down there. Now let's make this print statement in here. Let's make it say, my neighbor has 4 dogs and 10 cats. So see if you can write a print statement in there that says, that displays the output, my neighbor has 4 dogs and 10 cats, and you want to be using concatenation just like we're concatenating here. That kind of an idea. So go ahead, you could pause this video, do it, and then come back and check to see if you, did it correctly. Okay, so to print my neighbor has 4 dogs and 10 cats, this is what you need to have. So make sure that, if you compile it, you can see if you did it right or wrong. And so just make sure that the output looks correct, and you have your spaces here where they belong, and you have make sure you have everything and you'll be good. And one secret that I will mention, if you want to make sure everything is spelled correctly, let's say here, spelled and capitalized correctly, one thing that I do sometimes is I will actually go up here and copy this and paste it in here instead of typing it out, and that makes sure that you're matching every time. Alright, so the next thing I need you to do, this is the last thing that I need you to do, is to do the following. So declare a variable named dog trainer and store Sally Sue in its location. Declare a variable named cost per session and store 24.18 in it, and then write a line of code that will display the following output. And so just do this in the same program. Just add your code within the main method after the last thing, and then try that out, and then pause the video, work on it, and then come back and check the answer. Alright, so what you should have then is you have dog trainer, you have Sally Sue, and then the double for the cost per session because you're using a decimal. And then here's your concatenation inside of a print statement. And the key thing too we're looking for is the $ is going to be in the quotation marks. And so it should have you should be able to tell if you did everything correctly because it will print correctly, but the key thing is you have to make sure you have a variable call here, dog trainer, number of dogs, and cost per session. Should be the 3 variable calls that you have in order to make this work. Alright, so that is it for page 3.